Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. We've got some breaking transfer news coming in for you. Not one, not two, not three. The only treble we want to talk about is the future and Manchester United. The more you talk about City, the more credence it gives it. Ignore it. They bought it. Let's move on. Manchester United. And let you know what? Seriously, let's move on. We are a team that got our lowest Premier League points total a year ago. We haven't won a trophy for 5 or 6 years. We've not been near a title race in a decade. Really, we've got to take the small steps forward if we want to make the big leaps. And we've got 3 stories to come in, both coming in from Germany, really. One's a real shocker. Victor Lindelof could be going to Frankfurt. Remember, they wanted him in January. They're going back in. Would United do a James Garner and be stupid enough to sell a player that's important and better than a lot of players we've got just because there's an offer on the table? I think we need to be wary of that. With the sale not done and United needing to buy players, will they be tempted to just cash in on players that they shouldn't be cashing in on because the ones they need to sell, like the Maguires, aren't easy to sell? We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about Neymar. Interesting development there. But let's start off with the big story. MUANI, the Eintracht Frankfurt striker, French international, is an option for Manchester United. This is what is coming out of Germany. And more importantly, this is what is coming out from Christian Falk, who says, Kolo Muani and Manchester United is getting hotter. The English club finally wants to make its long-awaited offer, but they also have to hurry. Muani is on the list of PSG. Now, the relevance of this is twofold, really. Christian Falk is very good around German transfers and news, very close to Bayern Munich. Now, Muani was considered to be a target for Bayern Munich, who are one of the many clubs in Europe this summer who do need a striker. Desperately need a striker. I mean, you talk about the Champions League. If you took Upamecano out that team and you put a striker in it, I think they probably would have beat City. I thought they played well against City, but they have no forward and Upamecano's crap. So they do need a striker, and it looks like it's not going to be Muani, which would be why Christian Falk is quite well sourced on this, plus the fact Muani plays for Eintracht Frankfurt, who are also in the German league. So, will there be a bid coming forth for Muani? Well, he's always been a player to consider. Now, if you don't know who Muani is, I think he's 25 this year, so he's 24, yes. Obviously, he was in the French World Cup squad. And he's basically got everything for a striker. And look, I don't spend a lot of time watching the Bundesliga, but I do research players. In relation to Muani, you've got the pace, you've got the finishing potential, but he's also really good on the assist. He's a creative striker as well. He's good at getting the ball, carrying the ball, and creating things. And I think that might be quite useful in a Manchester United side, and that might be quite attractive to Ten Hag, because an out-and-out selfish striker might not work in a team that's got flair wingers. And what I mean by that is Rashford likes to score goals, Anthony likes to cut in and score goals. So are they going to be, or if you're a selfish striker, you might find yourself living on in a graveyard shift, living on scraps. Whereas if you're a hard-working, creative striker, as well as scoring goals, you can create for others, that might work when you've got people like Rashford in the team. So he is interesting. He's definitely a player that Ten Hag appreciates, and he's definitely a player, even though it might not be fashionable with some of you, that is on the radar for United and has been for a long time. It's always been Kane, Osimhen, obviously Højlund, but Muani's always been around third, fourth choice. So he's definitely on the list, and it'll be interesting to see if there is an offer incoming, because the interesting thing about Muani is that Eintracht Frankfurt expect him to leave. He will leave. It's not like Harry Kane, where Spurs are just desperate to keep him because they're desperate. Frankfurt know that they're going to have to cash in. They know that Muani wants to go, and there is a deal there to be done. Relatively straightforward compared to some other targets Man United have. So watch this space with this player. He might not be the most glamorous striker you want, but there's a lot in there that could be really, really interesting. And I would liken him to Alexander Isak, not in the style, but in the potential of, he is a striker that nobody really went for, that Newcastle did, and he's become one of Newcastle's best players in a Champions League qualifying side. I think Muani has that potential to become really, really good at a top side. So interesting if Manchester United do anything with that. Muani, expect a bid very soon from Manchester United, according to German sources. Exciting. The second story is not so exciting, and this is also coming in from Christian Falk, and this is what gives me look, I think there is credibility to Christian Falk when it comes to German stories anyway, but to throw this in the same piece about MUANI and United is quite interesting. Eintracht Frankfurt will also try again for Victor Lindelof. They wanted him in the January transfer window, but the defender was not given the go-ahead at the time. Now, this worries me 2 reasons. First of all, if we are in for MUANI and they want Lindelof, you never want that. You don't want to be negotiating with a club for a player you want when they want a player of yours that you don't want to sell. That could be a factor. All right, we'll let you have MUANI for 50 million if you let us have Lindelof. So that worries me a little bit, because I will say this, and I don't know what you think in the chat, let us know. I don't want Lindelof to go. I don't want Lindelof to go. I think since the injury to Martinez, people would say, well, look, he's ahead of Maguire, that's why he played. But I actually thought the logical thing to do was to play Luke Shaw and Varane. So the fact that Lindelof got that spot and kept that spot shows to me what a good season he had. And it wasn't just the end of the season. Most of the time when he played well. And he certainly got himself into that third choice centre-back spot, kicking Maguire down to 4th or 5th, really. So Lindelof's had a good season for Manchester United, and it worries me because I call it the James Garner effect, and it's the easiest thing that we can relate back to this summer. Effectively, United last summer needed to sell a player, desperately needed to sell a player, and they couldn't. Nobody wanted Brandon Williams, nobody wanted to pay for Dean Henderson, nobody wanted to pay for anybody else. So James Garner was suddenly, and Pereira were the 2 players that Man United could get money for. No one would buy Telles, no one would buy Bailly. United needed to bring some money in, so they took the money for Garner. Ideally, Telles, Bailly, Brandon Williams were going to go before Garner, but they couldn't get the money. It was hard. So they took the easy money. They took the easy option and they sold Garner. Now, I'm not saying United were wrong about that, but presented with a summer where United need to buy a lot of players, they've got to sell to buy to a certain extent. Offer comes in from Frankfurt for Lindelof for 25 million, 20 million, whatever it is. United don't want to sell him, but they take it because, Eric, if you want to get another midfielder, we need to start selling some players. We can't sell Maguire. No one wants him. Lindelof, do Lindelof. We could end up keeping Maguire, selling Lindelof because Lindelof's better than Maguire. And that's no way to run a football club. But that might be what Man United do, and it's fearful. I mean, can you imagine Pep Guardiola selling John Stones instead of Laporte because people want John Stones? That's how illogical it is, but that's how bad Man United are at transfers. And in the need to raise money, they may well just go, well, let's take the money for Lindelof because that helps us get Kim Min-jae anyway, and we'll keep Maguire. I don't think that's right. Now, of course, Lindelof might knock on the door and say, I know you want Kim Min-jae, I know I'm going to be 4th choice centre-back, I want to play first team football, I want to go. You can't argue with that ambition, but realistically, this is the extreme of why we are where we are. In a choice between Maguire and Lindelof, Maguire should be sold every day of the week. But can United do that sort of a deal? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't want Lindelof to go. I do want Kim Min-jae to come in. And I'd like to have our 4 centre-backs next season as Martinez, Varane, Kim Min-jae and Lindelof. Because I think 4 centre-backs like that, you look at what Man City have got, you've sorted your back 4 out. You've got Shaw and Malacia, Wan-Bissaka, Dalot, 4 good centre-backs. That's a part of the pitch now where we're very, very solid. And that's somewhere where that Ten Hag can move on from. So I'd like to see that happen. The third story, Neymar. Saudi Arabia wanted to take Messi to that league. He's gone to the MLS. They're now looking at Neymar. Wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it just wouldn't surprise me. I think certain footballers out there do look at the money, and Neymar to Saudi Arabia could well happen. I don't think Neymar's the right player for Manchester United. If we bought him, I'd back it. Of course I would. If Ten Hag wants him, that's absolutely fantastic. But I think it's dependent on whether we did get Qatari ownership and Al Thani. But a lot of people thinking maybe Neymar could happen to United this summer. I wouldn't say it's impossible. I think anything's possible with United at the moment. I mean, Jordan Pickford's possible. Neymar's possible. That's the extremities of the 2 ownership models. I think if you get Sir Jim Radcliffe, come on down Jordan Pickford, and why don't you bring somebody else who's got an English passport for you? But you get Al Thani and Qatar, they might be looking at the Neymars and people like that. But Saudi Arabia are going to offer him ridiculous money. He might well fancy it because leaving PSG looks like the option for him. But that is your latest Manchester United transfer news at the moment. Just a quick fire one. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Remember, we've got our Sunday night live show tonight, live at 7. But until then, that's your news. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Get your comments in below. What are your thoughts on MUANI? What are your thoughts on Lindelof and cashing in? Speak to you all in a bit.